Today I'm going to go through the stippling technique in portraiture. Stippling is a technique that's also commonly referred to as pointillism, which is a collection of tiny dots together to create an image. Pointillism was a technique that was used roughly 200 odd years ago in Impressionism, and it is still used today to create quite effective images. To the left of the screen you can see a student example of stippling created in portraiture, and they've used this particular technique to create a likeness of Ruby Rose, and it's quite effective in that it doesn't require a great level of skill, but you do need to think about where your highlights are and where your shadows are to create the illusion of form. To complete this particular type of portrait, you need a few tools. First one being you need a 2B pencil to map out your features. You might need to use a light pod or a light box, but a window works well if you haven't got access to these at home, to be able to trace in your facial features. And you also need a 0.4 art line fine liner to point in your dots. First step is to find your portrait that you're going to use. Find something that's in black and white already. You can extend yourself by finding an image that has a slight angle on the face. Because you are creating your image using stippling, the focus is on how you use tone. So it doesn't really matter if your portrait isn't front on. However, for mine today, it is. You should have clear midtones, as well as distinctive highlights, which you can see on the cheeks and in the forehead, as well as distinctive shadows that you're going to build in. Once you have your image, print it out so it's about A4. And even though I've already mapped my lines in already, put your page on top and either stick it to the window or put it on your light pod or light box. Then using your 2B pencil, start mapping in each of the features so that you can use them as a rough guide. These are going to help you structure the form in your face. It's also going to give you some structure to work to. Once you've done that, turn off your light box or remove it from wherever you've placed it over a light source. Place your image next to you. So if you're a lefty, place it to your right hand side because you'll be looking to your right. And if you're a righty, place it to your left hand side so you can actually glance to your left. So that's the natural way that you tend to work. Then using your fine liner, or if you don't feel confident in using your fine liner straight away, you may start putting in some rough dots using your lead pencil. However, we're going to go kind of hell for leather and we're going to go straight into using our fine liner pen. Start by adding in your features. So add in your dots around your line, your eyes and your nose, and build them up first. You want to start quite light, because if you start out too dark and try to put in too much detail straight away, then you're going to end up going too dark in your tones, which will make you less effective in what you're trying to achieve. Make sure that you establish your tonal area as well and your tonal value. So the closer together your dots are, the darker areas are going to appear. So areas such as the eyebrows, you're going to add your dots in quite close together. So they're going to be very clustered because they need to be quite dark. Areas like the highlights, you're going to go quite light. So your dots will be further placed apart. Kind of similar to this. So you might not be able to see them directly on my screen. If I hold up the image to the camera, you should be able to see them a little bit clearer. So just from this video, you can get the idea that the closer together my dots are, the clearer the image will appear at first. The further away you place them, the harder it's going to be to decipher your image. Keep working through until you complete your portrait. What you should end up with is something similar to what I've achieved in my first example. So you can see all the dots together have come to create my final portrait. You can see the highlights and the midtones and clear areas of shadow, which all come together to create the illusion of depth in the face. So by the way that my dots are clustered, you can get an idea of where the cheekbones are and the form in her cheeks, as well as the structure of her chin and her jawline as well. You can start to see things like the strands in the hair and the darkness of the eyebrows and the shape of the eyes. So all you're doing is using small dots and placing them onto your page, using your image as a guide to take you through. Once you've completed this, reflect on what you've done, using the annotation questions to go through and reflect on what you've done. You might extend yourself as well by finding an image that is in colour and trying to recreate that, or finding a different angled image and trying to recreate that as well.